Hello, everyone. Just a quick video today, but it's a bit of an odd one, so allow me to explain. And I have to talk about myself a little bit here, so apologies. I did try to write around that, I promise, but it was impossible. Now, when I started out on YouTube, I was just making rather mediocre, honestly, Let's Plays with me friend Jen for something to do, and that's what I thought YouTube was for, really. But Minecraft videos, catch jumping into boxes, and Raleigh crash compilations. Why would you stand on the corner at Raleigh? Why are they standing on the corners? Oh God. I didn't really have a clue about any of this political stuff that was going on YouTube. You know, all of these new media personalities, or whatever else they like to call themselves, instead of what they actually are, which is someone with a blog. Someone with a blog who takes it way too seriously. Of which I am one now, I suppose. But back when I made the switch from making fun videos to depressing videos, it's fair to say I was a little behind the times. You see, what I was aware of were the atheist YouTubers, and they were geniuses by virtue of knowing the earth is round being, like Thunder Surat and the Amazing Atheist. And I incorrectly assumed they were still the big fish in the YouTube pond. Not so anymore, of course. These days, there's a lot of other fish people are watching. For example, the likes of amateur ufologist and 9-11 truther, Sarcatophag, brain pill salesman, Paul Joseph Watson, that guy whose avatar is like something unusual wearing a suit. You know the guy. The name escapes me right now. A Canadian who complains about immigrants despite being one. The world's greatest living philosopher, Stéphane Molyneux, Layra Loomer, and Boxy. But I didn't need to know all that back then, of course. So I decided to make a video about the Amazing Atheist, which if you go and check, isn't there anymore. You see, making that video, I was still kind of finding me feet somewhat and working out an approach and all that, and it's no excuse, really, but I said some pretty rude personal things about, which was a mistake, and something I felt uncomfortable with afterwards and sorry about, so I deleted the video. I basically attributed Jeff's rather racist and offensive views featured in that video to him being mentally ill, which was unfair not only to him but also, all the other people who struggle with various mental illnesses without being racist or terrible people, so I apologize for that. And I'm grateful, in a sense, that I made that mistake and learned from it while my channel and audience were still fairly small. I kind of snuck that one under the radar there. There were a couple of downsides to deleting that video, though. The first is that besides being unfairly rude about personally, I did catch him out on something particularly funny. The other downside is that ever since I deleted that video, I've had people asking me if they can see it. Look at all these curious cat questions I have backed up there. About a tenth of those are about this Amazing Atheist video. So here you go, folks. Here's the funny thing I caught out on, and once EV explained this, hopefully you can all leave me alone about it. So something I'm going to touch on in my next video is how starved for material anti-feminist YouTube is, and you can tell this mainly because they all make the same videos covering the same topics. For example, when our old Paul Milo Stewart made a bit of a clumsy video where they explained what they'd learned about subconscious biases, anti-feminist YouTube pounced and all made the exact same response video crowing about it. A young trans person saying something that's easy to clip out of context was a much-needed gulp affair for that overcrowded, asphyxiating rat cage. Anyway, on such hack desperate for material was the Amazing Atheist, who made a video entitled Transgender Begots Hate Speech, and me video was a response to that. I was originally going to remake the video in its entirety, but actually most of it holds up pretty well. So I'll just include an edited version here following these disclaimers. So we excised the regrettable personal insults directed at from the following clips, but I haven't re-recorded the audio, and it's a little bit different from how I do it now. First of all, if you think I speak slowly now, wait until you get a load of this. My delivery has definitely improved over the last year, I'd say, watching this. Secondly, I still call Ch an idiot at one point, and that word and other words like stupid or moron, for instance, are things I'm trying more often to avoid lately. Oh, attributing deliberate actions to just unintelligence is something that started sitting kinda wrong with me. I feel like it can erase responsibility and agency in kind of an irresponsible manner. You know, it kinda lets people off the hook when they do something maliciously to just chalk it up to idiocy. So that's something I try to avoid these days. I also at one point refer to the trans lifestyle. I think I say, which is honestly just a bit of lazy scripting that would not make it into a video these days, because it makes it sound kinda trivial in context. The word lifestyle being more usually associated with choice, as in lifestyle choice, like deciding to reduce your carb intake or something. Again, not much of an excuse, but I didn't really have many viewers back then, and I did take as much care with me language as I try to now. And instead of correcting these errors, I thought I'd leave them in so we could make these points about how me approach has changed and how I'm thinking about me language more and trying to be better with it. With that out the way, here you go. So anyway, let's get to just arguments. And I give a short summary of the section of Milo's video choice responding to. We'll watch his response, and then we'll respond to his response. What fun. So Milo says, all members of a majority are biased against the members of the minority or oppressed group. And Ch responds, the minority is always oppressed by the majority, just like the 0.1 richest people are all oppressed by the 99 poorest people. That's how that works, right? Oh yeah. Now, where it just went wrong there is that he's only thinking of the minority and the majority in a strictly numeric sense. He's only considering the mathematical use of the words. And when we re-talking about societies, the minority refers to a group that has a minority of that society's power. For instance, Black people in the United States are both a statistical and social minority. Women, on the other hand, are a statistical majority, but still considered a social minority because compared to men, they hold a minority of power, influence, and privilege. In Jeff's example, the rich are a statistical minority, but they are not a social minority because they have a majority of the power. Yeah. Milo says, imperialism created cisnormativity and heteronormativity. And Ch responds, then why have these been the norm in every human culture that we've ever heard about? Now, I'll interrupt Javert. My understanding of the word heteronormativity is the belief that heterosexuality is the only normal or natural sexual orientation. And she says that this applies to all human cultures that we have ever heard about. So all we have to do to disprove this point is name one human society ever that considered same-sex sexual relations a normal part of life. And one obvious one should immediately spring to mind. And now, I don't actually know too much about ancient Greece. I am more of an ancient Rome guy. And the Romans had an interesting attitude towards what we would call homosexuality. You see, the Romans didn't see things in terms of our modern notions of gay and straight. They looked at sexual relations as either active or passive. You know, a Roman man could have sex with other men without stigma so long as he was considered the dominant partner in the relationship. and all British school children will at some point learn about Hadrian's Wall, which was built by Emperor Hadrian. And he loved everything Greek and was what we would consider to be an openly gay man. Not every culture has had the same attitude towards sexual orientations. They haven't even had the same definitions of sexual orientations. And since Milo specifically mentioned imperialism, the point's obvious. There were lots of different cultures with a lot of different attitudes towards sex and gender. And then, as empires spread and took over those territories, they imposed their understanding of what's normal. So either Ch has never heard of ancient Greece, or he's misunderstood Milo's point and is actually arguing against something else. And if we watch the second part of Ch's response, we'll see that this is, in fact, the case. Hell, why is this the norm? In animal cultures, a male lion is different than a female lion, not only physically, but in their roles. You know, a male gorilla is different than a female gorilla, not just in terms of their physicality, but in terms of their roles in gorilla society. And you can go all the way down the evolutionary line to most species that sexually reproduce, and you are going to find that there are delineated roles for the genders. So it's not some human construct. It's not, oh, imperialism. You see, Milo said imperialism created cisnormativity and heteronormativity. What Ch is arguing against is this. Imperialism created the concept of gender roles, and that's why he started talking about animals. You see, cisnormativity and heteronormativity are to do with societal attitudes towards things, and they can't really be translated into the animal kingdom, because non-human animals aren't capable of having opinions. So even though Ch got the wrong end of the stick and is arguing against something that Milo didn't actually say, let's briefly address his point anyway. So to start with, Ch is right. Animals do have physical differences between males and females do often serve different roles. Now, what he missed is that these roles are capable of change. They are not set in stone. You know, lots of different animals have evolved in a lot of interesting ways. And we know the obvious ones. Male seahorses give birth. A clownfish can change from male to female should the need arise. And now they know someone's sitting there saying, ah, Ch didn't mention fish or insects or anything. He mentioned mammals. A mammalian is different than a femalian, not only physically, but in their roles. So, okay, let's look at lions. You know, there's clearly a physical difference between male and female lions. For instance, here's a picture of a male. No, it isn't. It's a picture of a female lion. Now, apparently some female lions are growing manes and taking on the traditionally male role of frightening away competitors. Gender-fluid lions. Who knew? Milo says he mainly talks about Western societies because that's what he personally has experience of. And Ch responds, yeah, well, maybe you should visit those other societies just so you have a better basis of understanding. In Western culture, here's how the conversation goes. Hey guys, I may appear female, but I am in fact a non-binary trans person who prefers male pronouns. Some of us do not agree. I am oppressed. Ah, and wouldn't it be nice if the worst that Western trans people had to face was polite disagreement? Polite people, now I'm not going to go through a bunch of news reports about murdered and abused trans people just to prove a point to an idiot in a YouTube video. You can Google transgender hate crimes on your own time if you feel like depressing yourself. But even aside from the horrible violent stuff, there's still a lot of institutional BS against trans people in the West. There's still a lot of trans people living in states or countries without equal legal protections, and a lot of places don't count trans people as a protected group under hate crime legislation. And of course, trans people still have little direct representation in government. You see, sometimes the people who say, "I do not agree," go on to say, pretending that the worst trans people have to deal with is some people politely not agreeing with their lifestyle. That itself is transphobic. By my estimate anyway. So let's watch the rest of Jeff's response, and fair warning, it's about to get a little weird. Meanwhile, in Middle Eastern society, "Hey guys, I may appear female, but I am in fact a non-binary trans person who prefers male pronouns." Behead the infidel. But first, let us rape her to remind her that she is female. African society, "Hey guys, I may appear female, but I am in fact a non-binary trans person who prefers male pronouns." She is a witch. She eats at a poo-poo. Let's chop her up into pieces, then burn the pieces. So, it'd be easy to just dismiss that bit as nothing but lazy racist jokes made by a lazy racist man. Because that's what it was. But let's talk about it anyway. So first off, I'm white. And if I were trying to disprove that all white people were racist, my first priority would be to ensure that while I was arguing me case, I did start doing a bunch of racist impressions. She really fell at the first hurdle there. So I've been making videos for a while now, and one thing that happens is you start to notice certain things in other people's videos that maybe you didn't pay attention to before. For instance, before I went through the process of making videos myself, I never used to notice or think about stray frames. And there's one earlier in this video. It's right here. And that happens when you make a cut at the wrong time and accidentally leave in one or two frames that shouldn't be there. And I'm certainly guilty of that too. And I'm also thinking more about how certain visuals are created. For those of you that don't make videos, I want you to go through the process of how you'd go about creating this image. So let's think it through. Okay, you re a lazy racist, and you want to do a lazy racist impression of some African men. Now first things first, you need a photograph of some African men. So what do? You go to Google image search, you type in African men, and it's right there. And I'm not kidding. When I decided to find this image, it took me approximately 4 seconds. That's how lazy it is. Now, because you're a lazy racist, you don't think, "I wonder who these people actually were. Where did this image come from? Are the people in the image anything at all like me?" Stereotype. Who cares, right? You just download the image, you shove it in your video, and you good to go. However, and I realize I have a somewhat monotone voice, but what you're hearing right now is excitement. If we click on the image, we can see where it came from. And excuse me language, it's a fucking screen cap from a YouTube video about stereotypes of African men. I shit you not. We are likable and friendly guys. And we are even on Facebook. We are more than a stereotype. Let's change the perception. You dumb fuck. There are a bunch of university students talking about how they re-stereotyped as violent and stupid. And what did you say? She is a witch. She eats at a poo-poo. Let's chop her up into pieces, then burn the pieces. But you don't really think of us that way, do you? Oh, I'm sorry, seemingly friendly African man. Apparently we do think of you that way, because we're racist, and too lazy to do even the bare minimum amount of research. Maybe making fun of Chewy shooting fish in a barrel. He's a joke. Obviously, I get it. But the person who told me to take a look at this video described the amazing atheist as not that mean, and as having a brain. And I'm sorry, I am not seeing that here. You know, just because someone presents as rational and intelligent doesn't mean they are. And to be honest, sometimes shooting fish in a barrel's just fun. And even if he is a joke, there's enough people out there who think he isn't a joke that he's worth correcting. You know, you only have to look at his YouTube comments to see people agreeing with his incorrect, lazy, racist opinions. Speaking of looking at his YouTube comments, and would you believe it, people are still saying this. They still saying that. You know the really sad thing here. It actually included a clip of Milo calling himself racist, which means the people commenting this here didn't watch Milo's video orcha. We should be by well. The people commented, well, here by be we said so. We saw So it looks like Jess. Fans are dumber than Leafy's fans even, which quite the accomplishment. Lads. Well done. So there you go, folks. Apologies about me language again. It's an evolving process, this video thing, and I'm sure a year down the line I'll probably be apologizing about something I said in this video. Thanks as always to me supporters over on Patreon. This video was a reward for hitting a new tier on there. The other reward for hitting that tier is a 24-hour live stream of the very good computer game Bad Rats, which will be taking place next month around Christmas time. Any donations I receive during that stream will be going to charity. Now, I don't actually know a good charity for this sort of thing, so please send me a message on Curious Cat if you have any advice there. And head over and check out me Patreon if you like, because some new gold rewards will be going up fairly soon. How exciting. Anyway, thanks a lot, folks, and I'll see you next time.